Today we're stepping inside the sculptural Houston home of interior designer Linda Eyles. Building from the ground up, she ensured her single-story space was bold, contemporary, and architecturally intriguing.
There's some really interesting moments. We have huge dormer windows, kind of these outsized dormer windows that really define the house and that allow this stunning diffused light in. We have some beautiful curves throughout the house, some curved windows, which are really, really special. It has a more sculptural feel than the other houses that we've lived in.
They designed the rooms around a central courtyard, giving it a feeling of privacy among a bustling neighborhood.
The neighborhood itself is so busy, we wanted to have a quieter retreat within the neighborhood. So we found this lot. We started working with a really wonderful architect. The firm name is Michael Shue Office of Architecture. And with them, we worked in a very collaborative process, but with them, we developed a one-story home around a central courtyard. There's actually an entry courtyard, so you have kind of an oblique entry into the house.
Rich paint colors, luxurious finishes, and exquisite art envelop you as you step into this sophisticated and timeless space. To watch Linda's full home tour ad-free, where she shares her tips for embarking on a new build, shares her design ethos, and reveals her zen outdoor space, scan the QR code or click the join button below.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Linda. We're in Houston. Come on in and see my house.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hi, I'm Linda Eyles. I'm an interior designer in Houston, Texas, and you are sitting in my home right now. I'm excited to show it to you. So my husband and I have lived in the Heights neighborhood. It's a historic neighborhood in the center of Houston. We've lived here for 30 some odd years, and we've lived in a couple of different houses over the years. We wanted to downsize. We had a bigger house with a bigger property, and we were looking for something a little more intimate, a little bit more lock and leave, if you will. So we found a lot in the same neighborhood because we really love it here. We are on the hike and bike trail. So we are in the middle of a very bustling part of the city. People are going by all the time. It's very exciting to be here. So we're now in the entry of my house. And here in this entry, I really wanted to have a very big, powerful moment. I wanted this to be the beginning of the story of the house. So you're going to see a lot of color and a lot of pattern here, but I really wanted to do something that was outside the box and kind of exciting. So we started off with this Porter Telio wallpaper. It's actually from their typical line. It's called Floral Graffiti, but we did some custom colorization to the paper. We changed some of the flower colors and the background so that it could flow more consistently with the rest of the house. We also, as another big feature in this room, chose this tile. So this is a reclaimed marble tile from clay tile. And we installed it in a herringbone pattern to create a really dramatic moment here and to tie all of the colors of the house together. Another favorite piece in here is this Louis Philippe chest. My husband and I actually bought this for each other for our 10th anniversary, so we've had it for a while. And to me, every home should have some pieces with a story of their own, some pieces with age. And I feel like this brings a lot of richness through the burled wood and the old hardware. The ring mirror, by contrast, is a very contemporary element, and I love the way those two things play together. This has kind of an architectural shape through the black and the smoke and the clear glass that I think creates a really interesting, almost like a window through the mirror. Buddha, my favorite piece in the house. This is, my husband and I bought it on our travels. Love things that really show where you've been and what you've done. So this is a Buddha from Cambodia, and I think it sets the tone for a more peaceful house to come. So on the floor, this is a really special element. As you can see, we have this gorgeous curved wall. So we wanted to create an entry runner that was going to fit around that curve. This piece is from the rug company. We customized it just a little bit. So you can see the main leopard up here at the top, but I wanted to be a little more playful with it. So we have some leopards just coming into the rug and then some leopards leaving the rug. Just, again, to create that curiosity that we were talking about earlier. Beautiful bench from Anise. We did this stunning pavoni leather on the top. It's a stamped leather, so it has almost an animal print pattern of its own, kind of a playful nod to the floor. Up above, you can see these lamps, or these chandeliers, are from Arteriors. It's the Florco chandelier, or pendant, I guess I should say. Really just adds this beautiful glow to the room. Not a harsh light, just this soft, warm, kind of luscious glow. These little art pieces here, I find them so charming. These are from India. These are tea stamps. So they're government stamps from the tea trade, and then local artisans actually paint these miniatures on them. The detail on them is really spectacular. Just the pearls, the minute fringe detail, they draw your eye in. They're extraordinary. So when we first started the space, I said that I wanted it to be kind of a wow moment. The very first thing that happened in here was the trim color. So this is Smoky Topaz from Benjamin Moore. And I'm gonna have to say, when we first painted it and we didn't have any of the other elements in the room, the color was kind of scary. But the way it reads with everything all together, the way it looks with the wall covering, it's a beautiful blend of colors and finishes. Finally, I want to show you this piece. This little piece of art is a Picasso print. It's one of my treasures. The frame itself is so beautiful, the way they've created these corners on the piece. But it's called Picasso's The Smoker, and I just think it's a super fun kind of tongue-in-cheek piece. So there's one other feature I want to show you in my entry. We customized these doors. You can see they have this beautiful detail carved into them, but the really special element is this mesh panel that we did in the bottom. Rather than just having the entire door be wood, we added this mesh panel. My husband and I have 3 rescue dogs, and they don't always get along really well together. So this is a way for us to have some separation, keep everybody in the house peaceful, but you know where everybody is. There's lovely airflow, and yet it still feels like everybody's kind of together in a way. And besides, it's just a really pretty detail. So come on this way, let's look at my office. The neighborhood itself is so busy, we wanted to have a quieter retreat within the neighborhood. So we found this lot. We started working with a really wonderful architect. The firm name is Michael Shue Office of Architecture. And with them, we worked in a very collaborative process, but with them, we developed a one-story home around a central courtyard. There's actually an entry courtyard, so you have kind of an oblique entry into the house. It maintains this very private moment as you're coming into the house that's not a part of the hustle and bustle, but then you come in and there are grander spaces, beautiful garden and pool. But the idea was to have something that was possibly something for aging in place, something that we could be in for a very long time. So to that end, the primary suite is actually ready and able to be wheelchair accessible. We have a separate guest house that could someday, right now it's actually a gym, but someday that guest house could become a caretaker suite. So that was one element. We really wanted, though, at the core of things, to do a house that was very much in the moment, kind of where my husband and I are right now. And that was super exciting for us. We wanted to do something that was contemporary, a little more contemporary than anything that we'd lived in before, even though we are in the middle of this historic neighborhood. We also wanted it to blend in on some level. So we maintained a simple gable roofline, which is typical to the surrounding architecture. And the house has pretty clean lines. But being on the one level allowed us to spread out a little bit more. So you'll see in the architecture, there's some really interesting moments. We have huge dormer windows, kind of these outsized dormer windows that really define the house and that allow this stunning diffused light in. We have some beautiful curves throughout the house, some curved windows, which are really, really special. It has a more sculptural feel than the other houses that we've lived in. So that was a super exciting element. We also, again, because we're in the middle of a hustling and bustling area, we wanted to do something. My husband and I have 3 rescue dogs, and they are our fur children. And it was important to us that they were fully integrated into our lives. So we wanted to make sure there was some separation from the active neighborhood. So we've kind of directionally moved away from the hike and bike trail into this more private inner courtyard. So everybody's very happy here. So this is my home office, and I've never had a home office before, so I was super excited to create this for myself. I wanted it to feel feminine, but still strong, still powerful. So we used a palette of this beautiful kind of blushy pink and highlighted it with gold to make sure it still stays warm. The floor is white oak, and on top of that we laid a beautiful mohair rug from the rug company in this, again, incredible rose quartz color. It's luxurious and plush. So this is where I work when I'm at home, and I can either be here at the window at this gorgeous table. This is a vintage Saarinen table, and then the 2 chairs are from ochre in a beet colored leather. So you can see that the arms are all leather wrapped, just really a very sculptural detail, and then the seats themselves are in suede. Behind me is a really special detail. We designed these shelves ourselves and had a local maker, James Dawson Design, actually build the walnut shelves, and then they have this incredible brass edging all across them. But the inspiration here has a slightly deco flair. I've talked a lot about kind of the sculptural forms in the house. So rather than just have a standard bookshelf, I wanted something that felt more special, that was kind of an art installation on its own. So I can put in some of my favorite books, some really terrific art pieces, some old porcelain, and kind of had some fun with that. I'm fortunate. I have a great, yummy place to sit and relax. I'm often on my laptop here, but the kind of crowning jewel of the space is this lamp, this chandelier from Mui, which is in a steel and brass, and it just adds a fun sparkle. And sometimes at night when it's lit, the throw of light on the floor is incredible. It's just really a special, fun detail. So let me show you a couple of other pieces. I'm always influenced by art. This is another piece that I've had for a while. This is actually the face of a woman. And it's a colorful, powerful piece. And that's kind of what I wanted to do in here, was create this powerful feminine feeling. So you'll see here my bookshelves. These are actually books that I actually read all the time. We have a few pieces of, Venetian glass and some ceramics, but I really wanted to have a place to house some of my collection of books. I wanted it to be special though. So we have this really lovely curved detail, and then this gorgeous hardware, something that you can't use anywhere in a house, but that felt very sculptural here in this application. Then when I'm really hard at work, I get to sit under this gorgeous Mary Long encaustic painting that we found in Santa Fe on our travels. And I just happen to have this lamp. And that's what I love to do, is put colors together, have a lot of fun with the design, and bringing things together that make it unique to that space. So this is a really inspirational place for me to sit and do my work. My travels to Italy took me to Venice, and I found this beautiful, it's called Pebbles, but when you get up close to it, you can see this incredible layered detail to the blown glass. It's a ton of color, and it's almost mesmerizing when you look at the sweep of color in this piece. I'm also fortunate to have this beautiful view right outside my door, so I can see the changing sky all the time. And the light is so important in what we do. We have these beautiful draperies that go floor to ceiling with the brass hardware, but it's just a casement. So it's a sheer, and you can still see through it, but when the sun is coming from the east, it does soften all that light, and you can still sit here and have a beautiful workspace. Next, let's go over to my husband's office so you can see the contrast. So now we're in my husband's office, and in his space, he really wanted something that was rich, layered, more masculine, but still had a very peaceful vibe overall. So this is a rug that we've actually owned for a really long time, that we recut for the room because it's so beautiful. It's these sort of Chinese clouds creating the pattern. My husband is a reader, so we needed lots of space for books. You'll see his massive collection, and this is only a part of it. But we really wanted to create a space for him to be able to live with those. He sits here at his desk, and this is actually kind of a part of his view. Besides the spectacular dormer window above him, where you can catch the light changing all the time, but also there's a great tree outside that just feels kind of sculptural, captured in the window there. So speaking of art, this is by Karen Broker. This is an encaustic painting. Karen is a good friend of ours and a super talented local Houston artist. She also, in her work, talks a lot about femininity and the power of being a woman. This is one of her bouquets with this beautiful vase and all the detail in it. It's a very special piece in the house. So we have a couple of lights over it, just trying to create this moment. These are also from Arteriors. They're sconces and they actually move, which is a really cool feature. I have to point out another very precious piece. This was done by a friend of mine. She's a local mosaic artist named Chris Silkwood, and she did this in honor of one of our chocolate labs who is no longer with us. So in here, my husband is surrounded by a lot of his favorite things. So I said his books, but also this is a chest of drawers that I believe his granddad made with his own hands. There's a painting up here in the corner that is of a young Guatemalan girl, and that was painted by my husband's mom. So it's very precious to him. There you'll see some flags. There's a lot of family portraiture in here. So this is a very intimate space specific to my husband, but it's all grounded by this super cool desk. This is from Julian Chichester. And what I love about it, it has kind of a mid-century modern vibe, which oddly enough, I think pairs well with some of the Art Deco pieces that we have. But it's a beautiful walnut. It has this black inlaid top and then these beautiful kind of hammered brass doors. So it creates a really strong vibe in the space. And I like the way it looks with his more contemporary office chair and the contemporary Tizio lamp on his desk. He's fortunate to have a ton of light here. So we built in these drawer spaces. A lot of it is file storage, so super, super practical for him. But this has, I don't know if you noticed, the backs of the shelving here is out of wood. On this side, behind his books, you can actually see we carried the grass cloth that's papering all of the walls. We carried that grass cloth right back here to create kind of a soft background for all of the books and the memorabilia that he has in here. We've got, you know, a vintage clock. We've got some spurs from Guatemala. So to tie all of these disparate elements together, we use that grass cloth to create just a really soft vibe. This is where I sit when I'm allowed into the man cave. A beautiful Maguire chair in a Larson silk. There are a few other pieces of art in here. This is a really interesting piece over here on the wall by an artist named Sarah Nix Gin. She creates those pieces out of sewing patterns. So back in the day when people used sewing patterns, you know, the kind of that tissue sewing pattern, she sculpted the tissue and then she actually takes pins, little tiny pins, and creates pattern on the sculpture. So it's really interesting. You have to get a super tight look at that. I'm also going to point out one other thing in this room. We have a Lutron system throughout the house. And over here, you can see the keypads. So these are the Elise keypad from Lutron. And it's a really subtle, beautiful way, more artful, to control your light system. So these are actually our lights, and they control different scenes, if you will, for the lighting. So this space is actually a little vestibule off of the main entry. So this is where we have our coat closet. We have these beautiful sconces from Holly Hunt, but you can see that floor transitions from the entry into the vestibule. So in keeping with that transition, we also wanted to think about how the paint colors moved through the spaces. So we have the wallpaper out in the entry, as you remember. In here, we took that same smoky topaz and we had plaster created to coat the walls here. So it has almost a suede-like look in this particular area. This vestibule then leads you into the powder room. And I knew that I wanted to use a different color paint for the trim in the powder room. So that's always kind of a challenge for people. How do you transition from what are basically two powerful colors? So what I tell people is to think about, if you're in the powder room, you need all of the finishes in the powder room to be that color. If you're in the entry, you need them to be the different color. So you can see here, we actually have a very clear line of demarcation. And I'm just gonna shut this door on you for a second so that you can see that when you're in there, now all of your finishes are gonna be in the blue. So that you have this really encapsulated space color-wise. Here we have the most glorious wallpaper from Gracie. It's a hand-painted wall covering. And again, this paper is in their classic line, but we wanted to customize it just a little bit. I really wanted to see the pools of water that happen when a fish comes up to the top of the surface. So you'll see that we added those pools of water, and you can see it throughout the bathroom. Because we have so many curves in the house, it just felt like a really nice kind of transition point to add that to the wall covering. So in here we have more bubbles, like we have in the wallpaper. This is such an incredible faucet set. This is from Cheryl Wagner. And if you know Cheryl Wagner, they tend to do a lot of pieces that are sort of historically representative, really beautiful luxe decorative pieces. This has actually been in their line for some time, but it's a more contemporary feeling. And it's called the Molecule series. And we've got these gorgeous handles here with malachite additions. Isn't that beautiful? Again, kind of in keeping with the bubble theme, we have this Lindsay Adelman light fixture here. Also, lots of curves in the space. So you'll see that the wall curves over here. So we also created this stunning countertop. So this is, it looks like a solid piece of stone, but it's actually not. The craftspeople that we worked with mitered the stone and then created this curve, and I challenge you to be able to find the actual pieces that they used to create the curve. It just looks like this one massive chunk of stone, which is super luxurious, and definitely we wanted that kind of massing to be really strong. And so then we just have next to it, again, custom built, a curved storage piece that floats up off the ground for storage of all your bathroom miscellany. This is a beautiful little Matteo Lo Greco. Matteo was an artist working in Venice, working in bronze. So a really beautiful little kind of feminine addition to the powder room. In a powder room, you can push your design so much further. So it is a jewel box. In fact, speaking of jewels, we lacquered the ceiling in here just to get a little bit more sparkle. The mirror is also really sparkly. It's also actually Italian glass. But in a powder room, you can take whatever your design aesthetic is and just really push it to the next level. It's a small space, it's a destination space, if you will, and it's not a space that you're spending a ton of time in, so go crazy in your powder room. It's so much fun. Let's go check out the living room and dining room next. It's a great space.
The design process itself took about, I'm gonna say 8 months, and then the construction process probably took another 14 months. Again, we were fortunate to have a really incredible team. The architect and my interiors team collaborated really seamlessly together, and I think we built on each other's ideas. And then there's so many incredible local craftsmen as well, and we were able to bring in just some really extraordinary trades that we've worked with before that, yeah, it was really comfortable. It was a great process. My aesthetic is bold, it's colorful. There's a kind of global perspective. My husband and I have traveled a lot, and we really love to bring in elements to the design that reflect our personality. And I think that's actually the key to what we do as a firm. We are storytellers, and we want to understand our clients and then tell that narrative like a novel, share that narrative inside the house. And so that's what we've done here. Lots of bold color, lots of intricate, interesting moments, and yet overall the house has very much a timeless quality, sort of a modern yet timeless quality. So now we are in the living room and dining room of the house. This is the core of the house. This is where we entertain. This is where my husband and I watch TV. We kind of do all the things here. So we really wanted a space that was going to be great for entertaining, where we could be together as a family or with friends, a nice big open space. And we've never had that before, so it's been interesting to see doing, rather than having an enclosed dining room, this just feels very generous, very social. So we're having a lot of fun with that. The walls in here are a plaster done by a local company called Segreto, who does the most exquisite work. So all of the walls are plaster. The ceiling is actually made out of hemlock. And so that was a wood that we could carry from the interiors all the way out onto the deck. And it still works outside in the elements, but it creates this kind of warm, cozy environment in what is a pretty large room. So there are a few anchor pieces here, and one of my very favorites is actually this rug. This is by Atelier Fevrier. It is a woolen silk rug, and if you know me, you know I am obsessed with eyes. So to me, this looks kind of like an eye, but it could also look sort of like peacock feathers. But the really unique part is this unusual edge, right? So it's not just a perfect square or a perfect round rug. It has a really cool shape that adds a whole other level of interest. The seating area here, we've got some chairs by Holly Hunt. The cocktail table is also by Holly Hunt out of this gorgeous black and white marble. The sofa is kind of extraordinary. It's bright blue sofa. It is an Italian sofa. It's called the Gauguin by Moroso. Super comfortable, loungy, but I think that's it. It has this very loungy vibe, which is fun for the space. My husband and I sit here and watch TV, but the room is big enough that we can really have all kinds of friends here as well. So I'm going to point out the fireplace. This is a really cool collaboration that went through a bunch of iterations. So this is one of those times in the design process that something that you think is going to work out perfectly turns out to be a little bit of a challenge. We had this curved detail here. I'm going to just move this out of the way so that you guys can see a little bit more. But you see we have this beautiful brass curved detail. That was initially intended to also be out of the narrow Marquina stone, but creating that curve became a huge challenge. So as a team, we all came together and said, hey, what else can we do to create this really beautiful fireplace without kind of getting in the way of ourselves? And so this brass detail, which was also done by James Dawson Design, I think actually is a really beautiful feature. The art here is by a local artisan. His name is Kevin Peterson. And Kevin does these incredible, he works really, really quickly, but his pieces all have a little bit of an edge, and yet they're still extraordinarily beautiful. Kevin actually designed, I think, an album cover for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So just
yeah, as I said, just a little bit edgy, kind of interesting. I'm going to turn you around now. I want to show you this wall of cabinetry over here. First of all, beautiful suede chair here, also a swivel by an Italian company. So this is a really important feature of the room, and this was carved out of something that didn't really exist. Initially, the plan was just to put the TV on the wall, call it a day. But we had a little bit of space in between the walls, so we were able to create this beautiful bar area that you see here. We've got these gorgeous kind of burgundy lacquered cabinets, drawers, beautiful brass hardware. So we complemented that with the Palmer Industries shelves above. We have a Philip Jeffries wall covering behind, which has just a little bit of shine, so just a little bit of glamour. And the most extraordinary stone countertop here, this is called Explosion Blue. It's a quartzite, so super easy maintenance. Behind the center doors, we have the thing that everybody always tries to figure out, are they going to hide it or are they not going to hide it? But back here we've got our TV. So still some of the great storage below with the drawers, right? But you can hide that when you're entertaining so that you don't have to look at it. I want to point out on these doors, so these are white oak doors. These are enormous slabs of wood. So we wanted to create a little bit more stability for the doors and do it in a design forward way. So we added this brass edging to the sides. So that makes the wood stronger, but it also gives it just a little bit of sparkle. So here, TV cabinet, over here's bar, and then over here, we've got another little bar area. So it was an incredible use of space, and again, just kind of has that social, loungy vibe that works so well for this room. So walk with me this way, and let me show you, I just love this piece. So this is by a company called Radnor. It's their bone credenza, and this is a really sculptural piece of furniture. It's very touchable, just the way they've created these doors that have this slight curve to them. It's beautiful. Curved edges, you want to touch it. It's just a luxurious but simple piece in this black finish, which is actually a Japanese finish called shasugiban, which is a technique by which they blacken the wood to create this color that still has kind of a luminescent quality. You can still almost see through the black to the wood beyond. So really beautiful. I'm going to scoot out of the way here and show you this piece of art. Art is, to me, not just a painting. Art is also texture, art is also sculpture. And so this is a wool textile. This is by Claudie Jongstra, and she actually raises her own sheep and harvests the wool. She creates the dyes. These are all natural dyes. So all of these dyes come from her plants. This is woad. I don't know if you've ever heard of woad, but woad is a blue that is a natural dye that creates this really kind of periwinkle color that's beautiful here. A couple of other interesting features. We've got this sculpture by Ruben Nakian. It is Leda and the Swan, one of our older pieces that we just love here. And I'm going to point out the floors. The floors here are all from Ansacs. They are a limestone, so just sort of a soft color palette. It is called De Grigio, and we have, just for continuity, because we have this enormous wall of windows in here, which I neglected to point out, the De Grigio
is complemented on the floor outside by a similar stone called pistache. So we just have this idea of kind of indoor-outdoor living here that when those doors accordion all the way open, it's just a really gorgeous big space for entertaining. This lamp is by a company called Entryway, and they create these really funky pieces. They do ceiling fixtures. This is a floor lamp. They're all made out of ceramic, and they have this almost anthropomorphic vibe that's really interesting. I think in every room you want to have something that's a little off, that makes you ask questions. Why did they use that? And I love a pop of black. And so this piece has that sculptural vibe that I'm really going for here. Love this guy. I think it's super cool. I will tell you a little story. My dog came sweeping through here to go outside recently, knocked the lamp over, and because it's ceramic, only half of the lamp existed. I just got it back yesterday. Entryway was able to replace the broken pieces for me. So, love my lamp. So now I'm going to show you the dining room. So as I said, the dining room is connected to the living room, so creating this really social vibe. We wanted a place where we can have up to 14 people dine, so we did an enormous banquette. So the banquette is custom made to go along this back wall, and we can seat 8 people easily on the banquette for dinner. We did it in a velvet, kind of a deco sort of pattern. And then the seat is mohair, so super easy clean, really, really durable. The table itself is by Cast Design, and we custom sized it to make it oversized so that we can have larger groups. Now, when it's just my husband and I, we sit over here at this end, and this is where we have our dinner with the view or the TV. So we don't feel like we're, you know, at this enormous table with the candelabra. It's not too fancy when it's just the two of us, but we can also host Thanksgiving for 14. So we have these great leather chairs, again, super durable, Italian leather. Let me talk about the art though. This is a piece that we've owned for a while by Robert Rector. And this piece was actually the color inspiration for the entire house. So when you see this, you see that it's got kind of these blushy tones that are up in the study. It moves down into these richer, kind of rusty burgundy colors. You've got a lot of the bright blues. There's even a little bit of purple and some green. So this was really our inspiration, and you'll see touches of the palette from this piece throughout the whole house. I would be remiss not to point out the truing chandelier. So this is Truing Studios. This is a really interesting piece. So there are some metal chains on the chandelier, but if you look closely, half of the chain is actually an amber colored glass. So it's a really unique, again, sort of sculptural way to treat a chandelier that feels sort of fresh. One last thing I'm going to point out to you. We also have these chairs. These are by Ironies, and they have a beautiful texture to them. So this actually, the frame is stainless steel, and then there's this brass sort of mesh inlay for the back. So we can, when we are having a larger dinner, we actually pull these in, and they're the head and tail chair for the table. So it keeps it versatile. We can move them into the kitchen, into the living room when we have a lot more guests, or into the dining room. But here they just create a more, they create like a little vignette right here, which I think is really pretty. So that's it. That's the living room and dining room. So let's go to the kitchen now.
I've been in the business for over 25 years. I actually went to school studying communications. I thought I was going to become a TV reporter, so this is a really great experience right now, being on camera. But that did not pan out. And a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you come to work for me part-time? As it happened, he was an interior designer. And I kind of fell in love with the world.
he would allow me to start throwing some fabrics around on the table, and I got this bug. I went back to design school, did a 2-year program at the Art Institute, continued to work for this same super talented designer, and then started taking on clients of my own, and it's just grown from there. It's been a real ride. We've been through the crash in 2008, and we've been through COVID, but with some really good teamwork and some resilience, it's been a fantastic ride. We do a lot of work here in Houston, but we have projects all across the West, really. We've done some work out in Seattle, just off the coast of Seattle on an island called Whidbey. And we've done a project in Santa Fe. We do a lot of work in Colorado. We've got 3 projects going there right now. And then, here at home in Houston. Welcome to the kitchen. This is where we spend a lot of our time. My husband and I are both cooks, so we love to be in this space. And who wouldn't, right? Look at all of this amazing light. We have a little garden that is right off the kitchen, sort of a Japanese influenced garden. So it's a really beautiful space to spend some time in. So as I said, we cook a lot. So we wanted some durable materials. We have 2 different quartzites in the space. This one is called Aijin Blue, and I want you to notice that we created this really incredible detail here on the edge, something I've never seen before. So it was fun to get kind of a really different sort of edge detail for the countertops here. Back here we have Opus quartzite. So these 2 work really well together. They're both very neutral. The Aijin Blue is a really powerful material. This one is much quieter. The Opus is a good classic look. We created some shelves out of the out of the quartzite as well. And it actually even forms the cover for the vent hood. So a lot of stone in the space. To complement all these stones, we used Intrigue by Benjamin Moore on the cabinets. It is a beautiful sort of greeny gray blue, and it's really working as a neutral here. So it adds a little bit of color without being a powerful pop. We did change the finish on the island cabinets. We did the fluted detail, and I think fluting, you're seeing a lot of fluting now. We love it. It's out of the white oak, and it hides all of the stuff in your kitchen. So this is actually our warming drawer. We've got lots of storage, excuse me. But we have this curve, which is, again, typical for the house, but we also have this really great cabinet door here. So the fluting just felt like it carried through with the curvature of the space. You can also see that curvature in the ceiling. So this is a really big moment in here, and it leads to another one of those huge dormers that we have. Lets in lots of gorgeous light, but it really just has this kind of very special movement in the room. And you can even see that detail here again over this door. So we just have this really soft curve creating a special moment here. I'm also going to point out that we did something a little different here. We have a pantry. So we only have our refrigerator in the main kitchen. We moved our freezer to the pantry because we don't access the pantry every day. We don't grab things out of it as often. So we felt like that could be in a slightly more remote location, but the refrigerator is right here where you're getting to things every day. And we have these really incredible pull-out cabinets. Don't look inside. I don't want you to see all my stuff, but look at how great these work. Isn't that amazing? So we have 2 of those that work as our active, I'm going to say our active kitchen pantry on a daily basis right here. And then the pantry itself turns out to be a space that we can hide some of those kitchen appliances that you don't want people to see on a daily basis. So that's where my toaster is, that's where my coffee maker is, that's where the freezer is. But I also have all of my cookbooks in there, all of my plates, all of those extra things that you need to have to entertain. So great working space. All right, now let's continue on to the laundry room. So this is my laundry room, and this is a happy place. I think doing laundry is something that can be a chore, but in here, I have a lot of fun with it. And mainly that's due to this gorgeous wallpaper from Schumacher. It's called Chiang Mai Dragon, and it's an extraordinary pop of color and fun and brightness. It's just happy and brings joy. I wanted something, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I wanted something that paired really well with these portraits that we have of all of our dogs. It's kind of the wall of shame, if you will. But the portraits are all by a local artist named Kermit Eisenhut. And he does these really charming paintings, but they all have this powerful pop of green, blue, and gold. And when I laid those on top of the wallpaper, even though they're very different things, they just felt super fun together. So we paired that with this gorgeous quartzite called Costa Esmeralda in a soft green color, and then a soft green paint on the cabinetry to complement the paper. Lots of great storage in here. We created this wall of baskets for all of those things that you need to get to regularly. Dog food, extra towels, dog toys, all of the things. So this has been incredibly useful for us. And then over here we have 2 drying racks. These are from Pottery Barn, and they've just proved to be a really great feature for the room. So things come out of the washer, they get hung here. When you're done, they just pop right back up like this, and now they're out of the way. So it's brilliant. So that's the laundry room. It's always fun to work in here. All right, let's go to the primary bedroom and bathroom. So this is my primary suite. And we have this vestibule that had a bunch of storage in it. And it was frankly kind of boring. So we wanted to do something that made it feel so much more special. We upholstered all of the cabinetry on this wall in ultra suede. Sorry, it's actually real suede. So it has this beautiful, luxurious hand to it in a lovely, soft, rosy, pavone suede. Really highlighted by these incredible brass pulls. So they're big, they're chunky, and they play off beautifully with this softer, prettier suede. So come on into the bedroom. So in here, we again have these incredible windows. And part of this bedroom, quite frankly, was about controlling the light, because we do get so much lovely sunlight, beautiful views of the pool right from our bed. But to control that, I like to sleep in a really dark room. So we created early on, we put a track in the ceiling so that the drapery just recesses right into that track. It's motorized. So at the touch of a button, we can close shades, we can close the drapery, and then we have a really cozy space. So in here we have a bench by Holly Hunt. It's in a leather and fabric, and super convenient for rolling your pillows and all of the bedding right down at the bottom of the bed at night. Having said that, we actually customized the bed. So we have an incredible mohair fabric. What I love about mohair is that as it turns and creates corners and edges, it has sheen. So it changes all over the fabric. You have brighter coloration where it's making that turn. It just always feels plush and luxurious. For added storage, we created, everybody's always asking me, what do I do with my pillows? What do I do with my stuff? So we did some built-in drawers right down here on the bottom of the bed for extra storage. That's been a great detail. I said I always like to have a few old pieces in the house, and so other than myself being the old piece, in here we have this beautiful old Korean cabinet. One of my favorite lamps by Kelly Wearstler for visual comfort is here. These two art pieces pop on the wall. So those are both by Karen Broker. Those are their vases, just a really pretty piece. We wanted something simpler there and something light to come off of this incredibly rich wall covering that we've done on all the walls in the room. So this is a grass cloth. This is a Schumacher paper, and it has this kind of exploded feathery bloom pattern that feels peaceful, but it's also quite powerful. We color matched the ceiling to the wall covering so that you have this envelope of this really soft tone. I'm also going to point out the ceiling fan. The ceiling fan is by the Modern Fan Company, and they do a fan that is actually wrapped in leather, so it's kind of an elevated, cool way to put a very functional item in your home. And finally, I'm going to show you the rug. The rug is by Sheer. So it's in the same palette as the rest of the room. It has this pop of kind of orangey gold in it. And it is in a wool and silk. The pattern is the silk portion. So it has just a little bit of shine, and that's why you get the pop to it. Then over here, this piece is by one of my very favorite designers, Robert Quo. So I wanted to especially point this one out. I love this kind of tree stump form. It's wood with this beautiful sort of lacquer plaster finish over it. So it's furniture, but it's really a sculptural take on furniture, and that's what he does so well. All right, let's go into the bathroom. This is the primary bathroom. You'll notice the palette in here is a lot cooler. We wanted something brighter and a little more spa-like here, but we wanted to get the same drama. So on the floor, we have an Allison Rose Euclid mosaic from Artistic Tile. This sets the scene. This ties us back to the slight Art Deco, arty feel that the house has in a really powerful way. And this is in the Nero Marchina marble. It also has some Calicotta marble, but it's just a really poppy pattern that I love. We did in the shower, we created a design based on the floor tile, and it takes influence from this design, but in a bigger way. So there you'll see the same materials. There's also some onyx in the shower wall, but it pairs well without being overwhelming. I think if we had brought this same tile up onto the wall, it would have been a lot. So this is just a more exploded version of that. What's pretty unique about this shower, it's large. So we were talking about wanting it to be something that would be good for aging in place. So the shower needed to be large, but we have this beautiful curved wall here and the curved glass, which was not easy for the glassmaker to accomplish, but it really makes a very unique installation here. Over here, we've got a lot of white oak cabinetry, so we have fantastic storage. And we picked up that Calicotta gold marble that you see in the floor tile. We did that on the countertops, and then we also have it on the walls, so it creates a full height splash. We found these sconces from Visual Comfort, and they have an onyx layer right here at the front. And what's really remarkable about the onyx up against the Calicotta is it looks almost seamless, right? It looks as though we pulled that Calicotta right out to the front here. So really beautiful detail. The other thing I want you to notice, in trying to keep this as quiet as possible, we did some bocce outlets. And the bocce outlets are terrific. So I'll point out this one. They're just these very small round outlets, but we hand painted them. We had a Segreto Finishes came and hand painted them so that it's a much more seamless look in the backsplash. And then finally, I'm going to point out one of my favorite companies making faucets is THG. And this is their Faubourg series. Love this kind of blackened, darker finish on it that they do. So you can see that same detail here in the shower. We have the beautiful blackened details here. But one of the really great features in here is my outside shower. So it's raining today, so we'll see if we can take a peek outside. But out here we have this gorgeous terrazzo on the floor, and it also is on the walls, and then a super cool Sonoma shower system. The great thing about this shower is that in Houston, 2/3 of the year, you can be out here enjoying a shower and it feels like a vacation every time you take a shower. I want to show you the chandelier by Fisher Wiseman. So this is actually made of paper mache, and then there are also big, beautiful drop crystals. But this is a really special piece. These are, all of the drops on it, the paper mache drops, are made by local artisans in San Miguel, women who can actually work from home with their childcare happening in their home. So it's a really special story behind this fixture. Love it. It's been such a joy. We've been in now for about 16 months, and every day there's some lovely moment. I have a home office. I have my business office off-site, but I have a home office here, and I've never had that before, and it's extraordinary. It's my retreat. If my husband is in here watching some movie that I don't want to see, I have my home office. It's these beautiful rosy colors, some golds. It's always warm and comfortable. I love the fact that we're on one level. That has been kind of amazing. I don't have to carry laundry up and downstairs anymore. And it's just a simpler way of living. The way this room itself is laid out, we do not have a separate living and dining room anymore. So it's all one big space. And for entertaining, that's actually been a really cool thing to have, and something that I have never lived with. So yeah, that's been a really fun detail as well. The other thing is just the ease of being here. The way we've laid it out has been so thoughtful to our lifestyle, our needs, our dogs, for example. There are a few details that I'll show you, but every day it's just amazing. And the light is also incredible coming through. I think what makes a house a home is back to what I was talking about earlier. It's the story that you tell. Your home is your book, and it is your opportunity to show who you are. I love a beautiful bookshelf with books that you've actually read. I want to come in and dig in and find out what you're interested in. What are you reading? It might be a collection of art or even just your color palette. But what makes a home to me, beyond the obvious things of comfort and ease, I think it's showing your personality in a really tangible way.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.